Hi everyone. I hope you're having a good spring break. Um, so far, I'm sick and it's not going the best, but spring break. So I want to talk about some before, during, after strategies that can be implemented into the music classroom. So let's get started. Um, One before learning strategy that I chose was the anticipation guide. And by definition, it says anticipation guide serves both activate students' prior knowledge about a text and anticipate key ideas that students will encounter while reading. So basically, it's asking what do the students already know about these certain subject areas and what can they expect to learn? And so you can implement this by having a class discussions and have a students share aloud what they know about the composer, what they know about the piece, and other works that they've done beforehand, and maybe what they can learn to expect in this piece. The teacher can bring up certain subject areas to help the students guide their focus, and you can listen to what other songs by a certain composer and maybe have the students um, pick up certain techniques that the composer uses and maybe see if those techniques are implemented in the piece that they're about to learn. And why do this strategy? It lets the teacher know where the students are at, so they know what they have to focus on when in the music. It allows students to focus on certain aspects of the piece more instead of like just focusing on the overall picture. They can actually focus on individual techniques that the composer uses, and it allows students to listen to each other. Lets them be each other's teachers. So for our next technique, this is the during learning strategy, and I chose think alouds. And it says that the teacher or the students model the thought process they have while actively reading so that students can understand different modes of thought. And you can implement this by, like, after learning each section of music, you can have class discussions of what the composer is doing and how the piece is um, more special because of it. Um, the teacher can ask the students certain techniques to that they have that the composer has used and how where it is and how it's implemented into the music. And why you should do this is it allows for every student to connect more with the music. Instead of just learning all the notes and rhythms, you can find out why a composer composes, how they do what they do, why they do what they do. Is the tonal structure, um, does the tonal structure reflect how the text is and what moods it can convey? And it allows students to teach other students what they've seen. And so if a student sees a certain technique that another student doesn't pick up, it allows students to teach each other, which is always really cool. And this also allows the teacher to know that the students are actually picking up the material you wanted them to know. And then the students can find more composition strategies that they have and how it relates to other composers. So finally, the after learning strategy that I chose was summarizing. And it states students differentiate between important and less important elements of a text. Allow, allowing them to recognize the most important parts and deepening their understanding. You can implement this is I would recommend doing this before a performance, having class discussions, and allow students to reflect on what they've learned. And I say to do this before a concert is because once you have learned all the notes and rhythms and you have discussed the topic, you can allow the students to engage more in what they've learned and reflect on more of what they learned, and then their performance will be all the better for it. You can even do it after the performance as well to know what the students have learned, how they performed it themselves, and makes them realize how they are improving as a musician. And there's other reasons to do this is um, it allows students to talk about what they've learned to each other. Every student comes from a different place, and you can see how students are learning from what they've been taught, and this allows students to learn from each other, which I stated earlier, which is really cool. Um, the teacher it allows the teacher to know that they've learned what you wanted them to learn. And also it allows for the students to find something that the teacher maybe had missed out on, and that also becomes a teaching moment for the teacher. And then after it's all done, you can find out how all this material can change them as a musician, and how all their work can be better for it going forward um, with their career as a musician. So yeah, these are the strategies that I chose. Of course, there are many others that fit well into the world of music, but I hope you enjoyed this, and have a good day.